When I was just 6 years old, my life took a rough turn. My parents, who never seemed to say a kind word to me, yelled at me one day and told me to leave the house. They always seemed to favor my younger brother, Adam, which made me feel like I didn't belong. I remember walking down the dark streets, scared and alone, until a kind woman came up to me and took me in. Fast forward 16 years, and I had become a successful woman. When my parents came back into my life, I was ready to face them differently, determined to change everything. I grew up in a wealthy family in Chicago. Despite all the money, I often felt invisible in my own home. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Peter, were powerful lawyers who cared a lot about their status and success. They adored Adam, who did well in school and easily got their praise. In contrast, I struggled to meet their high standards, always feeling ignored and mistreated. No matter what I did, it was never enough to earn their approval. But little did I know, my life would change greatly thanks to my Aunt Lauren. My name is Anna, and at 7, things reached a breaking point. I had just come home from school, nervous about my test results. I had studied hard, but still didn't get the grade my parents wanted. That evening, I heard their raised voices in the living room. "She's a disappointment," my mom shouted. "We've given her every chance, and what do we get in return?" I stood frozen outside my bedroom door, tears running down my cheeks. I wanted to scream, "Why can't you see I'm trying?" but the words wouldn't come out. Later that night, after dinner, they confronted me. "Anna, we can't keep doing this," my dad said coldly. "You need to shape up, or you'll have to find somewhere else to live." At first, I thought it was a joke, but when I saw his serious face, my heart sank. "Where will I go?" I whispered, scared. "Figure it out," he replied harshly. That was the final straw. My heart pounded as I packed a small bag, knowing my life was about to change forever. I had nowhere to go. I left the house and wandered the streets of Jacksonville, feeling lost and scared. The city lights were so bright, and the sounds of people laughing and talking around me made me feel even more alone. I felt like I didn't belong in a place that should have felt like home. As the hours passed, I started to lose hope. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I saw a familiar face. It was my Aunt Lauren looking worried. "Anna, what are you doing here?" she asked. I didn't know where else to go," I said, my voice shaking. Without a second thought, she hugged me. "Come with me," she said softly. "You're safe now." Lauren was 42 and managed a restaurant. She had always been there for me, the only one who truly believed in me. I followed her to her small apartment, feeling a tiny bit of hope return. As we settled in, she made me a warm bowl of soup. "I was so worried about you," she said gently. "You can stay here as long as you need." Living with Lauren changed my life. She filled the emptiness my parents left behind. "You're smart, Anna. You can do anything you set your mind to," she'd say. With her support, I started doing better in school, working harder than ever to show I could succeed. Meanwhile, Adam was struggling with our parents' high expectations. I could see the stress was wearing him down. One evening, I found him sitting in our old neighborhood, playing his guitar. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked, sitting beside him. "Just thinking," he said, his face serious. "Mom and Dad want me to follow their path, but I want to do music. It's like they don't care about what I want." "I understand," I said, feeling our shared pain. "You have to follow your passion. They'll be so mad," he sighed, looking at his guitar. "Maybe it's time to stand up for yourself," I suggested, hoping to give him a little courage. "You deserve to be happy." As the weeks went by, I thrived under Lauren's care, but the gap between Adam and our parents grew wider. When they found out he had enrolled in a performing arts school, the argument that followed was unforgettable. One evening, the tension finally reached a breaking point. I came home from school to find our parents arguing with Adam. "You're throwing your life away," Dad yelled, his face red with anger.
"No, Dad."
"I'm doing what I love," Adam said, his voice rising. "This isn't how we raised you." "You're wasting your potential," Mom added, her tone sharp and cold. My heart pounded as I stepped into the living room. "This isn't fair. Adam has the right to choose his own path," I shouted, feeling adrenaline rush through me. "Stay out of this, Anna," my dad snapped. "You've already done enough damage." In that moment, I realized how deep the divide between us had grown. I watched Adam stand his ground, but it was clear our parents' control was crushing him. This fight wasn't just a turning point for Adam. It changed something in me too. As I settled into life with Lauren, I felt hope again. She was my rock, always cheering me on and reminding me of my worth. Her small apartment was warm and full of laughter, with the comforting smell of home-cooked meals. It was so different from the cold, demanding home I had left behind. "Anna, you're going to be a doctor one day." "I just know it," Lauren would say while helping me with my homework. "You have the heart for it." Her belief in me lit a fire. I threw myself into my studies, determined to succeed. School became my safe place, where I could escape the painful memories of my childhood. I worked hard for high grades, wanting to prove my worth, not just to myself but to my parents too. As I thrived in school, I often thought about Adam. He was still living with our parents, and I worried about him. One day, I called him. "Hey, how's everything?" I asked, trying to sound cheerful. "It's the same. Mom and Dad just don't understand," he replied, his voice full of frustration. "They think I'll change my mind and go to law school like them." "You won't, though," I said firmly. "You're too talented for that. You need to follow your passion." "I know, but it's hard with them always pushing me," Adam admitted. "I wish I could just get away like you did." "Maybe you can," I suggested, feeling a burst of hope. "You could come stay with me and Lauren for a while. It might help you figure things out." "Yeah, maybe," he said, though I could hear the doubt in his voice. As the months went by, my hard work toward becoming a doctor started to pay off. I graduated high school with honors and got a scholarship to a top university. When I opened my acceptance letter, I couldn't hold back my excitement. I jumped up and down, clutching the letter tightly. "I did it, Lauren. I'm going to be a doctor," I shouted. Lauren hugged me, her eyes filling with happy tears. "I always knew you could do it, Anna. You deserve this." But even with my happiness, I felt a bit of fear. I knew the path ahead would be hard, and I worried about what would come next for both me and Adam. I also knew my parents would probably react the same way they always did, without much pride or warmth. When I called them to share the news about my scholarship, their response was cold. "That's great, Anna," my dad said, sounding flat. "But remember, medical school is tough. You'll have to be perfect. Why can't you just be proud of hers?" Lauren said, frustrated. "She's worked so hard for this." There was silence from my parents. They were still the same, only seeing my achievements as things I had to do, not as things to celebrate. It hurt, but I refused to let their disappointment ruin my happiness. Once I started university, I threw myself into my studies. Medical school was tough, but I loved every bit of it. Learning new things fueled my passion, and I enjoyed the challenges. Late nights studying were often brightened by texts from Adam, who was finding his own path. "Just finished another song," he texted one night. "It's about breaking free from expectations. I can't wait to hear it." I replied, feeling proud of him and hoping he'd find the courage to follow his dreams. As I moved forward in my studies, my parents tried reaching out again, but it felt empty. They sent me an email, suggesting I should think about law school instead, even offering to help pay. "Anna, think about what a law degree could mean for your future," they wrote. Anger rose up in me, and I slammed my fist on the desk, shouting at the computer screen, "I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor." One afternoon, Lauren found me in this state. "What's wrong?" she asked, concerned. "They think I should drop everything and follow their path," I said, frustration spilling over. "It's like they can't accept who I am." "Anna, you are strong," Lauren said softly. "You've come so far. Don't let their expectations pull you down." Her words reminded me of my purpose. I was determined to break free from my past and follow my dream of helping children. I threw myself deeper into my studies, finding a sense of belonging and purpose I had never felt before. But even as I moved forward, the shadows of my past stayed with me. I had left my childhood home, but the scars from my parents' rejection still hurt. I couldn't shake the feeling that they would never truly accept me. Despite this, I kept going, driven by Lauren's love and my own dream of a better future. Little did I know the hardest test was still ahead, and my need for acceptance would only get more challenging. As I went through medical school, I felt like I was finally becoming the person I was meant to be. I had a purpose, and my passion for helping children pushed me forward. I had friends who shared my dreams, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged. But even as I thrived in this new world, my parents' presence still hung over me like a dark cloud. I would get emails from them now and then, reminders of what they wanted for me and suggestions that I consider law instead of medicine. Each time I read those emails, old anger would bubble up, but I had learned to push those feelings aside. One evening, while I was studying for an exam, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Adam. "Can we talk? I need to figure things out." I felt a wave of concern. "Of course, come over," I replied, eager to help him. When Adam arrived, he looked more stressed than ever. "I can't take it anymore, Anna. Mom and Dad won't let up," he said, running his hand through his hair. "They think I'm just wasting my life on music." "You know that's not true," I said, trying to reassure him. "You have real talent, and you deserve to follow your passion." "I know, but every time I try to talk to them, it's like talking to a wall," he said, frustration clear in his voice. "They just don't understand." As we talked, I could see how hard this was for him. I knew exactly how suffocating it felt to be constantly pushed in a direction you didn't want to go. "Maybe it's time to stand up to them," I suggested. "You deserve to be happy." Adam nodded slowly, but I could see he was still unsure. "I don't want to lose them completely." "Sometimes, you have to take a stand for yourself," I said softly. I answered, "I had to do the same thing. It's hard, but you'll be better for it." Days turned into weeks, and as I focused on my studies, the thought of facing my parents was always in the back of my mind. I knew that one day, I'd have to confront them. Then, one evening, I got a call from my mom. "We'd like to have a family dinner," she said. "It's important." A knot formed in my stomach. "Sure," I replied cautiously, unsure of what they wanted. The dinner was set for a few days later. As it got closer, I felt a mix of nervousness and hope. I wanted to believe they might be ready to understand me, but part of me was preparing for more disappointment. When the day came, I arrived at the restaurant early, my heart racing as I waited. When my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Peter, walked in, they looked as serious as ever. They sat down, and I could feel the tension. "Thank you for coming," my mom began, her voice calm but cold. "We wanted to talk about our family and our future." "Okay," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've been thinking," my dad said, leaning forward, "about your education and future. We believe it's time for you to consider law school." My heart sank. "I've told you before, Dad. I want to be a doctor. That's what I love," I replied firmly. "Passion doesn't pay the bills," he shot back, frustration clear in his tone. "You need to think practically." "Practicality isn't everything," I replied, feeling anger rise inside me. "I've worked hard to get where I am, and I won't let you push me into something I don't want." The tension grew, and other people in the restaurant were beginning to notice our argument. "Anna, we just want what's best for you," my mom said, her voice shaking a little. "But you're not making smart choices." "No, you're not listening." "You've never listened," I said, unable to hold back anymore. "You've spent my whole life judging me by grades and achievements. I'm done with that." At that moment, Adam walked into the restaurant, noticing the tension. He came over, his eyes full of concern. "What's going on?" he asked. "Just a family discussion," my dad said dismissively, but it was clear things had gotten heated. "This doesn't look like family," Adam replied, giving our parents a hard look. "You can't keep doing this to her or to us." "What do you know about families?" my mom shot back harshly. "More than you think," Adam said, stepping closer to me. "Anna deserves support, not judgment. We both do." In that moment, all the emotions that had been bottled up for years finally spilled over. All the feelings I had kept bottled up for years came rushing out. I realized I had spent too long trying to earn their love and approval, only to find that nothing would ever be enough. "I'm done trying to live up to your standards," I shouted, my voice shaking. I'm finally happy, and I won't let you take that away from me. The restaurant fell silent, and I felt everyone's eyes on us. It was a moment of complete honesty, with all the pain, rejection, and struggle of my childhood laid bare. As I looked around, I knew I was ready to leave the past behind and reclaim my life. But I also knew that this was just the beginning of a bigger battle. The silence was thick. My heart raced as I stood there, facing my parents with my true feelings out in the open. Adam stood beside me, his presence comforting. I saw the shock on my parents' faces, but I wasn't going to back down. Anna, this isn't how you should talk to us, my dad finally said, his voice a bit shaky. Why not? I shot back, still angry. I've spent my whole life trying to please you, and it's only made me feel worse. I'm not a disappointment. I'm doing what I love. Adam turned to them, his gaze strong. You need to understand that forcing us into careers we don't want isn't love. It's control. My mom looked stunned, her usual authority fading. We thought we were doing what was best for you, she said softly, a hint of hurt in her voice. Best for us or best for you? I replied, feeling the weight of my words. You've never seen us for who we really are, just your expectations. In that moment, I felt a change in myself. I was no longer the scared little girl trying to earn their approval. I was an adult, a future doctor with dreams of helping others, and I was finally ready to stand up for myself and for Adam. Enough of this, I said firmly. I won't let you control my future anymore. I'm going to be a pediatrician, and nothing you say will change that. Tears welled up in my mom's eyes as she seemed to realize the impact of her actions. I just wanted you both to have secure futures, she whispered. I thought that would make you happy. Mom, happiness isn't just about a job or title, Adam said gently. It's about being true to ourselves. I want to make music, and Anna wants to help children. That's what will make us happy. The restaurant stayed quiet, but I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, I could breathe freely. I had finally spoken my truth, and it felt freeing. Maybe we've been too focused on our own ideas of success, my dad admitted, sounding regretful. We didn't mean to push you away. I could see they were sincere, but I also knew words alone wouldn't fix everything. It's going to take time, I said calmly. Time for me to trust you again. But I'm willing to try if you are. With a deep sigh, my mom nodded. We want to support you, Anna. Really, we do. Can we start fresh? Adam and I exchanged a glance. Let's take it one step at a time, I replied carefully. There's a lot to work through. As we left the restaurant, I felt lighter. That talk had opened a door, not just for healing, but also for understanding. My parents were finally starting to see the importance of unconditional love. In the weeks that followed, we began rebuilding our relationship. It wasn't easy. Old habits are hard to break, but my parents made an effort to show their support. They came to my medical school events, and for the first time, I felt they were truly trying to understand my passion. Meanwhile, Adam kept following his dream in music. He played at local gigs, slowly building his own path. I admired his courage and felt proud of him for standing up for what he believed in. Eventually, Lauren, Adam, and I decided to open a community center for kids. We wanted to create a safe place where children could explore their passions, just like we had fought for ours. At the center's opening, surrounded by happy faces, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. I had come so far, from a scared girl looking for approval to a woman who embraced her dreams and fought for her family. My journey taught me that love isn't about meeting expectations. It's about supporting each other as we truly are. And that was a lesson worth sharing.